Good morning. Today's video is going to contain wood processing with the Trailmaster Bowie, using my new puko, hot off the press, and a bit of field maintenance on the knife. If it's been abused or lost its edge, I'm just going to show you a few little tips on how to maintain your knife. Thank you. Hope you enjoy. And if you do enjoy, please leave a like. Back to camp for processing. don't have to go all the way through if you've got something you can bang against. And intelligent chops are far better than going hell for leather. We got fat wood. So I'm going to keep that to one side and hopefully using the firelighting. power of the trailie. I think that's enough splits now. I've showed you what the trailmaster can do, so I'm going to get the fire ready. Well, I'm no Northwest primate. I got so much dry sticks, it's not going to be a problem anyway. But I'm going to keep trying this. for me personally, I'd rather do it this way. My leg's shaking. Well, I got 3 now, so I should be alright. But I've got a new little knife. I made myself a pucko. And this hasn't been out of the house yet, so I haven't made a pucko in years. Must be about 10 years. The only thing is the blade isn't particularly a pucko shape, it's more of a carver. But I got another one on the go now at home in the workshop, and I think that's going to be a bit more like a pucko. I think I'm going to be lazy today and use a lighter. Not very bushcrafty, but I want a cup of tea now. And Scott's arrived. He's over there somewhere. Right. Time to snap some twigs. Look at that. This is what you want. Not like 2 weeks ago when it was soaking wet, yeah. It was like, oh, look at that. Look how thin they are. one time I managed to find fat wood in my Sunday morning woods, and I don't need it. In fact, I don't even need a lump of feather sticks. That'll do. That is textbook fire lighting today. Shame the smoke is blowing straight up my seat, so I'll have to move. Time for tea. Look who's here, it's the Welsh woodsman. Say good morning.
Good morning.
Just want to talk a little minute about my trailmaster. I've had this a good few years, and it is one of my favourite knives. But the only thing I did find about it, for my hands in particular, the handles are a bit slim. So what I've done, I've stripped the inner 550 paracord, I've wrapped the handle, and then I've covered it over in bicycle inner tube, and it gives me the girth I need. The only thing was, earlier on, when I was chopping the fallen tree down by there, it slid off, which was quite strange because last weekend when I used it, when I was building the super shelter, it didn't come off at all. So what I've done, I put a bit of bank line on there, and I've done a constrictor knot, and it so now it won't come off at all. A very good knife, but this is the San Mai version, and it's considerably heavier than the carbon version, which I've got two of them as well. I've got the pretty one with the antler handle, which I bought on holiday in Vegas about 10-12 years ago, but I've never used it. I've got a carbon one with a Creighton handle, which I bought that second hand, and I don't think I've ever used that either, because I favour this one because of the weight, and the convex grind is definitely better than the full flat. So I'm just going to split this log now. Split this down. There should be some nice feather stick wood to replenish my stock, which I used a fortnight ago when I had the fail. I didn't like having a fire fail. I felt like a bit of a tit. This wood is slightly on the turn. It's from seasoned to rotting. So one side of it's a bit soft, the other side's pretty good. But it will burn. See what I mean? I know they call that a sissy stick, but it's better than chopping your fingers off. Now when I started off this malarkey, going to play in the woods and chopping sticks and lighting fires and making tea, it was a long time ago. I'm 46 now, and I started going camping when I was 15. And when I started, there was none of this Ray Mears Gransforth axes business. It was basically the go-to was a big knife and a crappy old bow saw. Obviously things move on, and kit certainly moves on, but I still got a soft spot for a big knife. And last year on our yearly Sweden trip, I took a Falkniven A1 Pro and a Gransforth axe, and I barely used the axe. I used the A1 Pro for nearly everything, and there still is a place for it, definitely. We don't have to be clones of the big instructors. We can do what we want. And I like using a big knife. So I'm going to use my new little puko now to make some feather sticks, as I said, to replenish. I'll get back to you in a bit. Pathfinder kettle again. I've made the grounds a little bit finer now. They're probably going to fall through the grill, but I fancy a nice cup of coffee. Tripod is such a versatile way of hanging a pot. You can move it so many ways, it's great. So when I'm making feather sticks, I like to pick a nice square edge, knot free. Perfect. Oh, I got 4. It's all well and good making a beautiful feather stick, but at the end of the day, it's for lighting a fire. So, in my opinion, quicker the better, so you can get the tea on. I'll do the other 4 now. So there's my 4 feather sticks done. I'm going to put them away now for next time. And that's a little view of my puko. Nice round handle on it, because I find if you use a skinny handle, the more you use it, the more fatigue you get. So slightly bigger handle, you can go for that much longer. And my kettle's boiling now. Let's hope we haven't got a cup of warm piss. Looking good. Scott! Giving Scott the shout. What, did you make coffee in the kettle? Time to sit down now, relax and have a cup of coffee. Scott's stool is broken. Fair play, it's done well. It's been here about 2 years. So he's got to sit on the floor. Sit on the floor, eh?
I'm not sitting
Sit
in the
floor.
smoke.
On the floor?
I'll sit on the floor, but I'm sitting out of the smoke.
So I want to talk a minute about knife care. Now, this is a high carbon Mora, and I've left it covered in water overnight. You can see that now, it's covered in rust. It's not horrifically bad, but it's not brilliant. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stab it in the ground to blunten it. So think of the scenario now. You've taken somebody in the woods who wants to learn a bit of bushcrafting. You've been cooking in the evening, you've given them your spare knife, which would usually be a Mora, and they've left it out overnight, and during the course of the day they've been stabbing it in the ground, and I've seen that happen. Scott had a really nice bison bushcraft knife, and he lent it for 2 seconds to somebody on a course, and they stabbed it in the ground. He nearly cried. So chances are now that's been dulled. Give it a few more stabs. So it's pretty stinking, covered in rust. I'm saying that, some of the rust's come off stabbing it in the ground. So I'm going to show you now how I clean that up and touch the edge up in the woods. There's a couple of things I use for this. Number one, for cleaning the nasty shit off, is an eraser block. Now you can get these from Heine Haynes. I've had this one years, and they're about a £5, but you can also get them from engineering supplies, and they come in the engineering supplies come in a bigger block, and you can just cut them down to the size you want, keep them in your pack. Next thing is a strop, and a strop's not much cop without some paste. Now if I'm using my distrude saw, I've got a pocket on the front, and what I carry in here is a big strop. So there's my big strop. As you can see, I've only used half of it, but on the other side I've got stuck on some micro mesh. Micro mesh is basically a very good quality wet and dry. Now this isn't much good for giving a complete sharpen, but to get the edge back is plenty. I use DMT folding stones, and they're excellent. The only problem is with them, if you're sharpening a Scandi grind and you're doing it in your hand, you can convex it. So what I've done in the past is strap it or tie it to a log so it doesn't move, and sharpen it that way. And one day when I've got a nice blunt knife, I'll bring it up the woods and I'll show you a complete regrind on a Scandi with the DMTs. But for now we're just talking about cleaning the blade up. Obviously first thing you want to do is get the crap off. I've always got some kitchen roll on me. Let's face it, we've all got toilet paper. It's not as bad as it could be. Just take the eraser block, which I think is about a 600 grit. I've got one of these in the house as well. But I don't touch the bevel with this, because it's easy to convex it. So that's a marked improvement. Now I'm going to take my big strop, obviously the other side, and I'm going to strop on the micro mesh. So the first one I'd say is must be about a 400 grit. They are a bit worn, mine. I'm not going to get a burr on the blade just using these because they're not aggressive enough. Obviously if I wasn't on camera now, I'd take a lot more time doing it, but it'll be pretty boring for you, so I'm just showing you my technique. Over the years I've used a few different kinds of paste, from Jeweller's Rouge to the stuff I use on the polishing wheel at home. But this stuff, which is called, what's it called, Scott?
Starkey Sharp, is it?
Starkey Blue, that's it, known to many as Smurf Poo. The idea is to put it on a flat surface because I have got a bit of bend in this. There's some school of thoughts with stropping say you need to do about 50 on each side, and there's other schools of thought saying no, just touch it up, so about 5 on each side's enough. It's up to you. Whatever works best for you. Another good idea is to carry a Stanley blade, so every now and again take all the crap and the fine metal particles off, and then repaste it then when you're down to nice fresh leather. Or you can use the back end, the spine of the blade if it's sharp, but that will round it off, so not so good then for a ferro rod and scraping. Right, let's see if she shaves. May do. The edge looks pretty good. Yep, back to shaving sharp. Hope that's been informative, but I will go into more depth with sharpening in the field in future. Cheers. Now, on last week's video, when I was building the super shelter, I mentioned pegs. Now, I filmed myself making some pegs, but they all snapped, so I didn't bother putting it on. But I got a bit of sycamore here now, a bit of green sycamore, and I want to show you what I meant when I said making pegs. So, you'd cut it down to about that size. So you make a V cut. It's probably about the right depth. And then you compromise it. I see, that's typical, this is perfect. And that's how you make a peg, and you hook the peg into the wood like that, but obviously it won't go, so what I'll do now, I'll open the peg up a bit. So depending on the thickness of your benders, and what I had last week, I couldn't find any real thin benders, so I had to use pretty thick stuff. That's why I had to split a piece off one of them to get the bend. There you go. Come on in. Today's video is going to contain wood processing with the Trailmaster Bowie, my new puko knife, bit of field maintenance on your blade. It's been left out in the rain or misused. Scott's here as well. Well, he's gone now, and built a bit of banter between me and him. No, I don't like this. This is shit. Now, on last week's video, when I was building the super shelter, I mentioned pegs. Now, I filmed myself making some pegs, but they all snapped, so I didn't bother putting it on. But I got a bit of sycamore here now, a bit of green sycamore, and I want to show you what I meant when I said making pegs. So, you cut it down to about that size. So you make a V cut. It's probably about the right depth. And then you compromise it. I see, that's typical, this is perfect. And that's how you make a peg, and you hook the peg into the wood like that, but obviously it won't go, so what I'll do now, I'll open the peg up a bit. So depending on the thickness of your benders, and what I had last week, I couldn't find any real thin benders, so I had to use pretty thick stuff. That's why I had to split a piece off one of them to get the bend. There you go. Look for a stick now. So if that's your bender, should be thicker than that, mine. and your material is over it. Bloody snapped. But I'm going to show it anyway because it does work.